republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, folks. I think we should be saying that when we wake up in the morning and before we go to bed at night every day, because if Mr. Obama is successful with this Cloward Piven theory, the United States won't exist as we know it, as we've all grown up with, and some of you younger folks wouldn't remember some of the old America, but it was really quite a place when I was as old as you folks are, and I'd like to see that come back. So I'd just like to mention a few things that we believe, RIILE believes, that this is an agenda. I call it the Obama-Chafee agenda. And if you remember, Governor Chafee went to Washington about 6 months ago, just by himself. I think his wife might have went with him, but to meet with President Obama. And President Obama wrapped his arm around Lincoln Chafee and said, "This is one of my best friends from the United States Senate." And that's the first time that I ever thought Obama said anything sincerely, but he sincerely claimed that Lincoln Chafee was his good friend. The governor came back to Rhode Island with $50 million in extra race to the top money after that meeting. So if you don't think that something's going on, that all of this stuff we're worried about, are people going to come, what's going to happen to Rhode Island, if you don't think that this isn't already in the plan between President Obama and Lincoln Chafee, he was on the radio today, and he said on the radio that no one from the federal government, no agency had contacted Rhode Island about accepting any of these people from the border. But his staff was looking at locations and the contingency plan if somebody did ask. But he emphasized that no one had been in contact with him and no one from his staff had contacted them. But at the end of the conversation, he said, "We're staying in touch." So if he didn't get in touch with them, and they didn't get in touch with him, how is he staying in touch with them? I mean, I think it's just a big lie. And as far as the overall situation is concerned, if we don't think there's an agenda, how do we attribute the fact that President Obama comes out with a big surprise? He was shocked at Benghazi, he was shocked at the IRS, he's shocked at all of these things, totally taken by surprise by this crisis at the border. And 3 months before the crisis actually blew up in our face, he sent out an RFP to transportation companies across the country to transport these kids when they got here in April, and the big crisis was in June. How did that happen? And it's my understanding that as early as October, some things were in the works to help out different places with all of these children. I don't know, all the folks that are on Facebook probably saw some of the things on Facebook, but there was, Obama's administration was going to let some religious organization in Texas borrow $50 million to purchase a big fancy resort that had gone out of business and was vacant right now to house some of these children coming across the border. How could we do that? How is that okay? We can't take care of our own children, which should be our first priority. And if we have something left over to take care of other folks, once Americans and legal immigrants are taken care of, then our hearts should go out to them. But until such a time as we have all of that in place, I don't think we should be doing what we're doing. Something that I said on the radio yesterday, today again, these children are leaving those squalid conditions where they are in Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala, and they're coming to the United States. Land of opportunity. Everything is going to be so much better. Well, when they get to the United States, what are we doing with them? For now, for 6 to 8 months, they're going to reside in a place similar to the lad school, with a fence around it, where they won't be able to go out. There'll be hundreds of them in the place, awaiting all the different immunizations and whatever it is that we're going to have to give them. So what's worse, being home with your mother and father in a place like El Salvador and worried about bad things happening, or being locked up like in a jail in a place in Rhode Island like the Ladd School? Doesn't make any sense to me. But I think that's also atrocious. And some of the other things that I think are absolutely wrong with the system the way it is right now, there's no provision in this system for when these children get to a place like Rhode Island, say if we house 400 of them, which we don't have confirmed, it's not confirmed, but from a very good source, I don't know if you saw that on Facebook, we were told yesterday that there's going to be in excess of 400 children dropped off in Rhode Island somewhere. No details on where they would be dropped off, but as Governor Chafee said today, his staff is already out looking for places for them to go. So, you know, that's a very good possibility. But what they're doing on a national scale, and hopefully it wouldn't happen in Rhode Island maybe, but these children, we don't know if they've been immunized. We don't know really anything about them at all. Well, they're going to have a place to stay. And they're saying that they're looking for relatives of these children. So relatives of these children are mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, illegal aliens living in the United States already. Friends of the family. So do you think it's okay that our government, the governor, is going to turn over some of these children to somebody without a background check, because that's not in the plan, without any check on the person that they're giving them to? So the problem that we have all over the state of Rhode Island with pedophiles and all of that, we could very well be distributing, as they say it, these children to people that are looking to do harm to those children. And we'd be complicit in that. We would be saying that that's okay. We wouldn't be saying that that's okay, but Governor Chafee and his ilk would be saying that that's okay. It's just a real shame that we're allowing this to happen right before our eyes. And I'm going to ask if the press wants to ask any questions in just a minute. I'd like to introduce a couple of folks before we do that. This young lady right here, running for District 43 in Johnston, Terry Gorman. She's my daughter-in-law. She's been the director of RIILE since we got started. Everybody says, "Oh, I met your daughter the other day," but I have 3 other daughters. So, but this is my 4th daughter. So, and let's see, another candidate here today is Reese, and he's running against Congressman Landry.
It's going to straighten anything out. They put us in the jackpot to begin with.
All right, Charles.
Them to all political parties that are established.
Charles.
Get rid of the whole General Assembly.
And we have another candidate over here, I believe, for Secretary of State, John Carlevale, standing next to Charles over there, keeping everybody in check. And John Carlevale happens to be one of the fighters for voter ID. Which is also.
Already
did. Thank God.
Give it to the General Assembly.
Well, that's not a bad idea. But voter ID did pass in Rhode Island. We have a model law that's people are taking up and looking at all over the country. And this is going to be the first election where a photo ID is going to be required in the next election. And we already had a couple of small elections in Rhode Island where photo IDs were required this year. And there wasn't one single problem, not one. And with voter ID, we're getting off the subject, but with voter ID, the first year we had it in, well, last election we had it in, there were no problems discovered anywhere except in one ward in Providence.
Sicilian's ward.
That ward in Providence They had redistricted that whole ward. They changed it all around. They cut down the hours at the center. They cut down the poll workers at the center. And they had a problem in that particular district. But it wasn't anything to do with voter ID. It was the incompetence of the election board in the city of Providence putting that thing together. And let's see, I don't want to miss anybody else that's here. Oh, yep. Alliance for Safe Communities is Carolyn Medeiros. I don't know if you see all of these laws that have gotten passed to help protect the citizens of Rhode Island, but Carolyn is responsible for all of that. She's one of the biggest fighters we have for the citizens of Rhode Island that's here. And some of the other things that we're talking about with the people coming across the border, I don't know if you've seen those pictures too, but young men are coming across the border, 13 to 18 years old, and admitting to the Border Patrol agents that they're members of MS-13. They're volunteering the information without even being asked. So is that what we want to come here? We had several years ago we had, I believe, PolitiFact can check this, but we had like 13 members of MS-13 that were deported right out of the state of Rhode Island. And we still have that problem right now today. And I think when you hear all the problems that there are in Providence with the gangs, I'd be willing to bet you that the majority of the problems are coming from people like MS-13. And they're a vicious, vicious gang. And I don't know why we would even contemplate inviting any more of them to come in. But just just hang on just a minute. Karen's gonna say a few words.
Thank you everyone for coming out today. Trust Chafee. Really? Where are our Rhode Island delegation? Where are they advocating for us? They're not here, but their challenges are here.
They're all Democrats. That's why.
Where are our General Assembly members? They're not here. Where is Speaker Medeiros standing up for us? He's not here.
He's worse than Fox.
We can't let them get away with this any longer. We're losing our country. We're losing our state.
They don't care. They're all making money.
Wake up, everyone. It's going to be gone before you know it. Get them out now. We have a chance this year.
But the state votes for them anyway.
Get them out! Si se puede.
This cannot go on any longer. We cannot afford to take on new people. We can't take on the people we have already.
You should be worried about studios. 138 studios.
We're overwhelmed already. Please, wake up, Rhode Island. Wake up, America. We're losing our country. Thank you.
Well said, Karen. It's just, I feel a little bit bad here where we feel as though we're preaching to the choir, but we think this choir should be all the way out to the street. And I don't know why it's not. And somebody said to me this morning, Terry, don't worry about the short notice. Don't worry about it's during the daytime and people are working. If people want to go, they're going to show up. And like I said, I thought there'd be many more people here. But someone else I'd like to introduce that's here is, he came here from, how do you say that, Leicester, Mass? Mike Dawes. Where are you, Mike? Mike's with an organization called Overpasses for America. And if you go on the web and look at Overpasses for America, you'll see them. They're all over the place. They have signs covering the fences, and they encounter some of the same things that we encountered with our signs when we were up on the overpasses. And I told him a story this morning when we first got here. He was telling me about up in Massachusetts, the state police came by and told him he couldn't have his signs. they couldn't be attached to the fence. So he would have to hold the sign up. Now the sign's 8 feet long, and look at him. Kind of, me and him together couldn't hold that sign up in front of the fence. But I told him what happened here in Rhode Island, and I won't get anybody in trouble by saying their name, but I was at an overpass and I had 2 signs all strapped right to the fence, and a state police car went by. I said, "Oh, Terry, you're in trouble now. He's going to turn around and come back here and tell you to wrap up your signs, get him off the fence, and get out of here." So he went by and he was gone for a while, and I kind of forgot all about him. But then it dawned on me. I said, "I wonder where he went. It's taking him a long time. Is he going to get more people? They're going to cut the sign up besides telling me to take it down." Well, here comes the state police car back. The state police car pulls up next to me. The window goes down. Said, "Terry, you look like you could use a drink of water." And he gave me 2 bottles of cold water. That was a Rhode Island state trooper, and I'd never divulge his name to his boss. But I thought that was a good story. And I tell you another story quickly. This podium, little advertising for quality rental in North Providence. I went there this morning to rent this podium. It's $60 to rent the podium. He said, "What is it for anyway?" I said, "Oh, we got a rally at the State House today." "Well, rally for what?" I said, "We're going down there to protest about illegal immigration." And he said, "Oh, about all the illegals that they're going to come here?" I said, "Well, potentially that's the biggest reason we're going down there." "Oh," he said, "Well, just give me $30 for them. Just give me $30 for the podium." So he cut the price in half because he agreed with us about doing something for illegal immigration. But I'd like somebody to say something, just a couple of words, if you would, Larry. But Larry Gerard, he's from Rhode Island taxpayers.
No, I had a vision a couple of weeks ago about Hurricane Katrina and New Orleans, and if you remember that, Hurricane Katrina is below sea level, and when that levee broke, all that water flowed into New Orleans, and you knew it wasn't going to do any good at all. And that's the vision I have of our borders. We have a breach, and we're being invaded not by water, but by people. And we don't know the demographics of the people, their health, their backgrounds. And yet we're sitting here in Rhode Island and expecting that at some point we're going to have people visiting us wanting to stay, as Terry mentioned. And he talked about the health risk and the security risk because they don't know their background as far as their criminal backgrounds. And then you take a state that right now we're in very fiscally fragile. And we're struggling with high unemployment, the worst business climate in the country. And yet now we're going to accept 300, 400, 500, 600 people from somewhere else that we have to take care of, that are going to go to our schools in a school system that's already challenged.
And you're going to blame the teachers for it.
No, I'm not blaming the teachers. I'm just saying that the teachers now have to teach more and above because of the fact that they're going to have these students coming in. So I think it's important that we say no to this effort. And I applaud Terry for leading it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Larry just peaked another thing for me with the security and the backgrounds of the people coming across the border. If you don't find this atrocious, if you don't think this is part of some big plan, how do you explain that the illegal aliens are being dispatched from these camps, wherever they happen to be down there in Texas, and they're given they have no identification. We don't know what kind of medical care they've had. We don't know about immunizations, but we also don't know their background. They're being dispatched from those places, brought to an airport, because they said they knew somebody in Providence, Rhode Island, or Nebraska, or whatever. They're given a ticket to fly there. And guess what they use for identification to get on the plane? A piece of paper that says, "My name is Jose Cuervo."
They change your face.
Yeah, Jose Cuervo, And the federal government gave me this paper to say to report to a court in Nebraska on August whatever. And TSA is allowing them to board the planes using that piece of paper. Well, if somebody from the Middle East, some terrorist, somebody bent on destroying the United States, wants to come here, and they can come into those camps because nobody's checking who they are when they come across the border. What's to stop them from infiltrating every state in the country with 3 or 4 of those people, and we're gone. And we're actually gone. I can't believe that anybody in our government thinks that that's okay. To just give somebody that they don't know, they never saw before, they go and base strictly on what that person said, and giving them that piece of paper that's supposedly identification, and allow them to get on the plane. And a fellow called the radio the other day and said, I can't believe this. Said, I travel extensively all over the world. In the last month, I've traveled out of the United States 4 times. And every time I get on a plane, everywhere in the United States and wherever I was coming from, I had to present extensive identification to get on that plane.
Tell Obama
Now,
that.
American citizens have to provide all that documentation. How in the name of God does Obama think it's okay to give somebody a piece of paper, not knowing who they are, and they can get on any plane they want to get on, all across the United States? And I'd be remiss. I want to have Reese just say a few words, and he potentially can eliminate somebody that thinks all of this is okay.
Well, thank you, all of you, for showing up here today on a very important issue. I want to send some regrets also. Mark Zakaria, who's running against Jack Reed.
Oh, anybody but him.
He recruited me to run for this seat in Congress, and he regrets that he can't be here today because he had an engagement out of state that was previously arranged. Anyway, you know, we're facing an outrageous crisis, but if you look at every aspect in this country, as far as the government is concerned, it is in crisis. We look at the financial crisis, the economic crisis, our foreign relations crisis, but not right now looking at this border crisis and this immigration crisis that we're facing. We fail to recognize the crisis that we have here in our own country. I was looking at statistics earlier that we have 15% of the population in this country that lives in poverty. That's 45 million Americans.
Yeah, but Obama's going to change all that.
Oh. Clearly we are winning the war on poverty. I don't think so. 45 million Americans in poverty, 35% of which are children.
Right.
And yet we want to help children that are flooding illegally into this country.
No.
This is a government that makes no sense.
Right.
It doesn't care about its own citizens.
Cut my pension.
They're going to be
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I am not one of these staunchy white politicians that have been doing this for a career. This is my first involvement in politics. And I can tell you that I have Latin blood flowing through my veins. I am a first-generation American. Both of my parents are Portuguese immigrants who came here legally. What we need in this country is leadership that is going to recognize the problems that we have here first, because in order for us to take care and help the rest of the world, we need prosperity in this country.
Get rid of land,
And that is the problem. We are so eager to make it seem like we want to help the unfortunate that we actually do damage to our ability to help the unfortunate. So we need our politicians to stop pandering and trying to gain votes by trying to act on our emotions. when it's sensibility that needs to start governing.
Yes.
The sensibility that will enable our economy to turn around and get everyone back to work. How can we be out there fighting to allow all these illegal immigrants to come into our country when we have, on any given day, 200,000 to 400,000 veterans who are homeless? This makes no sense.
Where's Teresa today?
And this angers me to no end, and that's why I have stepped up to run for office. Because this government makes no more sense, and we need to get sensibility into our government. Thank you all for showing up here today, and I hope that you all make it to the voting booths on November 4th.
Thank you, Rue. I'm going to have a couple of other people talk, but he just reminded me of something else. Right now in Rhode Island, we have, what do we have, 50,000 people unemployed in Rhode Island, and I'm not going to get onto the economy, but it just so happens, you can check on this, 20,000, the U.S. Census Bureau and the Pew Hispanic Center estimate that there are between 35 and 40,000 illegal aliens residing in Rhode Island. 20,000 of them have jobs, folks. 20,000 of them have jobs. Why? Why do we allow that? Why can't we enforce our laws? And I'm going to have Leanne Semick. She has a radio show called Take a Stand, and she's just going to say a few words from her standpoint. Sorry.
I just want to say that we're a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. And if we don't follow through with that, we are actually the greatest country on the face of this earth. We have liberties and freedoms that other countries don't offer to their citizens. And that's why people try to come here. But if they come here illegally and subvert that system, we will no longer be the greatest country on the face of this earth. And that's why we have to take a stand here and stop this from happening. And I stand with Terry and Karen and Rue and Carolyn and Yvette and everybody who's here, Martha and Leo, and everyone who's here standing up for this is what we need to do to ensure that this country remains the greatest country on the face of this earth and our freedoms are protected. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm going to ask John Carlevale to say a few words in just a second. Folks from the press, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask before?
Yeah, you said it didn't make sense that people would come from where they had mothers and fathers in a bad country to come here to live behind fences and stuff, but they're doing it. They think it makes sense. Did you ask any?
Can I ask you to step in front of the microphone?
Did you ask any of them, Jim?
I haven't been down there, Terry.
No, I know, but that's it. I'm being facetious maybe, but I don't think that those kids are happy that they're all jammed in those places and they're under a Red Cross blanket and they don't know what's going to happen to them in the next 5 minutes. I can't imagine that they think that that's better off than being with their own mother and father, even though the conditions that they're in.
They came.
Their parents put them there.
Well, their parents sent them. Their parents sent them. And if people don't want to agree with me that this is some sort of an agenda, then you tell me how a woman with 2 small children makes it 1,600 miles across the center of Mexico and makes it all the way to the United States with her 2 children. That doesn't make any sense. I know everyone says that they're sent with the coyotes, but how do they do that without the complicit Mexican government doing it, and without, in my opinion, our government being complicit in that also? 1,600 miles across the Mexico, and check Mexico's immigration laws. They were shooting people. They were shooting people coming across the Guatemalan border 5 years ago if they tried to sneak into Mexico. Now that they're letting them over, they said 52,000 children were in those centers down there originally. 52,000 children, not including the adults. How do they all come across the border if the rules are so strict in Mexico? Yes, Steve, I can tell you.
You said at the outset you were told that hundreds of immigrant children were coming. You understand 400 immigrant children are coming.
Yes.
One gentleman said 600. Where do you understand these from? I mean, who tells you these?
Well, we would.
Can you be specific?
Well, I can't identify the person, but the person happened to be an attorney that works in the system, who asked not to be identified.
System of what?
The federal government. I should just say the federal government.
So
and he said this is unconfirmed, which was on Facebook, but we were told that by a very reliable source. That's all I can say. That there were in excess of 400 people going to be dropped off in Rhode Island sometime today. So I don't know. Today. And
the governor knows about that.
I think the governor knows about that a long time ahead of time. But I mean, you know, it's like you divulging your source. I can't tell you who the person is. I'll try to get that person to come forward and say I told you. But I mean, but we don't know. Right now, as we speak, they could be being dropped off in the C-130 at Quonset Base down in North Kingstown. Pull one of those big C-130s right in the front door of a hangar, let them all off the plane, and put them on buses at the other end of the hangar and distribute them wherever Chafee's staff has found room for them. Well, I don't have specific evidence of that, but if we did, we wouldn't be here. We'd be there, Steve. We would be there. And believe me when I tell you, if there was a bus coming out of there, and I knew it was all illegal alien children coming from the border, I'd lay down in front of the bus. Because I think that that's going to be the destruction of the state of Rhode Island. Never mind the country. When we look around, everybody knows, and I get angry sometimes with people that say they don't want to talk about the social issues. But I defy anybody to tell me what segment of the economy in Rhode Island illegal immigration does not adversely affect. There isn't any segment of the economy. So illegal immigration really isn't just a social issue. It's also a real economic issue. And the people that have all these estimates from everywhere, that how many children do we have in Rhode Island? And I know it's federal law that we have to accept the children of illegal aliens. Any child residing on U.S. soil is entitled to a K through 12 education. But one of the things that I say is, if that's the law, that's fine. We have to go by the law. Those children are here. What do we do about more coming in? I've been saying that for 5 years. Here it's come to fruition now. We're possibly going to have these children dropped off in the state of Rhode Island sometime in the near future. I don't know if it'll happen today or not. But in the near future, we're going to have all these children dropped off, and nobody's putting limits on it. It just doesn't make any sense to me that it's going to overwhelm the school system. You just take where I live in Lincoln. We think we have a pretty good school system in Lincoln. There are 24 English language learners in the Lincoln school system. They can't afford those 24 English language learners that they have now. But we have to address it. Every election, we have to address it. Every budget, we have to address it. What are they going to do if 10 more illegal alien children are dropped off to the Lincoln school system? How much more money is that going to cost? Where's the money going to come from?
Raise taxes.
The taxpayers are up in arms now about how much they're paying. And ask it, and you reporters all know this too. Any community in the state of Rhode Island, the majority of their taxes go to pay for the school system. So how can we just say we're not going to have any checks and balances? We're going to just allow as many people as Obama wants to send us to come in. Something just has to be done. It can't be allowed to have us, in my opinion, be overrun by people from some other country. And believe me, I'm a compassionate guy. I have 5 children, I have 9 grandchildren, I have 2 great-grandsons. I worry about those kids. What's going to happen to those kids? You have no idea what would happen to Terry Gorman if my great-grandsons went to a school and they had to go in and sit next to some kids that came here from the border that had only a cursory examination before they went to that school, and my great-grandsons got ill, the reporters would be writing about me for months in the paper about what I would do if those kids got sick because of that. But that, yes, there's one more gentleman here I'd like to talk. John Carlevale. Thank you, Terry. If you pardon my correction of you, Terry, my name is Carlevale with an L. Although my mother's sister married a Carlevale, so I am related to some Carlevales. And Terry, they do not pronounce my name properly either. I want to thank each and every one of you for engaging what I call the exercise of your political citizenship. You obviously recognize that it is our duty to call attention to our government when our government is engaged in practices with which we do not agree, or with which are not in the best interest of each and every one of us. I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said, so I'm going to take a path that is somewhat different. 40 years ago, I was a regulatory administrator for child welfare services. So I have my roots in child welfare services. And I promulgated laws and I testified before this General Assembly to ensure that those laws would be passed to protect our children. Yes. Recently, you may have read that there have been a number of editorial pieces, commentaries, calling into question whether or not we are adequately serving the children that are part of our child welfare system. In fact, one person, I think probably as early as last week, even proposed the abolishment of the Department for Children, Youth, and Families. Why am I saying this? Well, I can't help but remember what I used to hear my grandmother, an immigrant to this country, often say that charity begins at home. We have to take care of those children who many people are expressing concern about in the child welfare system. And so it disheartens me that we may not be doing as good a job as we ought to be doing for them and by them, and we're about to take on a challenge which I don't believe we are adequately prepared for.
Right. We don't have the money.
And that's what I want to communicate. And once again, I thank you for being here and exercising your political citizenship. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Those are all things.
Yes.
And I'll go back again to Obama. When the Senate passed this great, wonderful law to solve all the problems about immigration reform and all of that, S-844, close the border. That was the first thing in there. Close the border. So now we can get the bill passed because we're going to close the border. First thing, before we do anything else, close the border. Do you know what the bill actually stated? The Department of Homeland Security has 6 months to develop a policy about how to close the border. And it will be up to the discretion of the Director of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano at the time. Up to her discretion how much of a fence would be built on the border. That's what the bill actually says. Go look at it yourself. S-844. That's what it said about the border. It said all of these things about illegal immigrants would have to pay fines. They would have to go to the back of the line. There's so many things. They couldn't jump in front of people that were here, legal immigrants with green cards attempted to become citizens. every single one of those things that was in that bill, right after they said it, provided a waiver to that particular part of the bill. There was a waiver for everything that was in that bill. So it's Obama is, I don't know, in my opinion, you can tell I get upset about this. I mean, I don't always get emotional, but I think Obama's trying to ruin this country. I truly believe he's trying to ruin the country. And
he's already ruined it.
Obama's the biggest fraud. He's an illegal alien running the country.
My wife and I have been married for 50 years. And I saw her cry a couple of times during those 50 years. It probably was about something that I did that I wasn't supposed to do. But just the other day, I told Karen this, I told some other people this. I can't believe my wife is sitting in our family room watching Fox News and she's crying like somebody that didn't get to go to the prom as a teenager. And she was crying because her country is disappearing in front of her eyes. And what she said was, we have Congress, and that comes right down to Rhode Island, you know, in our legislature. But we have a Congress that's supposed to keep check on this guy. And he's doing whatever he pleases. And he just continues to do whatever he pleases. And to see her sitting there crying over that this is a serious situation. I have somebody else I'd like to talk. It's from the Rhode Island Taxpayers Anchor Rising, Rhode Island Freedom and Prosperity. You know, she's a regular milliner. She wears so many hats. But she's one of the real advocates for saving the state of Rhode Island. I forgot her name. Monique Chartier.
Thank you so much, everybody. To start with, I want to echo or repeat the name of RIILE, Rhode Islanders for Immigration Law Enforcement. And if we were simply enforcing our laws, this would not be a problem.
That's right.
They talk about a broken immigration system. It's not broken, it's simply not being enforced.
Right.
On the local level, to echo what John Carlevale said, we have limited resources in the state, but we have very high taxes. All of our budgets are maxed out. The state budget is in the red, an unimaginable number, and none of the local budgets have a lot of surpluses. Today, Governor Chafee, when he was asked once again, were you contacted by the federal government to accept the children? He said, not formally. So what does that mean? But I can tell you that if children come here, it is not going to be a temporary situation, and it will be very formal when we all write those checks to the state and local taxes to pay for the extra cost of those children coming here. It is just not acceptable that they come here. We cannot afford them. My concluding remark would be that it only exacerbates the problem. The reason that people are coming here is because we are not sending them back. We are not enforcing our laws. So if we continue to accept them, that only leads to a perpetual wave of illegal immigration, and that just simply does not solve the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monique. Again, to facts about down on our border. Charles just reminded me of something that is a pertinent fact. 2/3 of the people coming across the border aren't women and children. They're males. And they're males that I told you before, are coming across the border telling the Border Patrol agents that they're members of MS-13. And we continually let that happen. Where are the people? Where is Congress? You know, there should be some congressmen somewhere that are against this. Very few of them ever speak out. We don't stand a chance in Rhode Island. And, you know, I can get in trouble for this, and there could be repercussions, but I really don't care much anymore. But in Rhode Island, these are the names of the people that we have. We have Representative Cicilline.
Oh, get rid of him.
We have Representative Langevin.
Worse.
We have Senator Greed. And Senator Outhouse. And they happen to be probably the biggest supporters in Congress of Mr. Obama. Now, if you're not nervous about all of this, just, there's so many things I could talk till Christmas. But watching a debate the other day, we have 4 candidates, 4 Democratic candidates for governor that are all in favor of giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens. We have 2 Republican candidates, which kind of makes me a little angry, that are in favor of in-state tuition. One just changed his stance because he claims now, which thankfully, that he's in favor of in-state tuition for illegal aliens that are in the process of becoming citizens. In the process of becoming citizens. So that's a big difference between just giving it to, you know, illegal aliens. But
Who is he?
while we're on that fact, you see people here, some people have signs that say no in-state tuition for illegal aliens.
Right.
We have a policy here in Rhode Island. A policy. P-O-L-I-C-Y. A policy, not a law. Federal law, 8 U.S.C. 1621, states that no state shall provide illegal aliens with in-state tuition unless it's done via the passage of a law.
Right.
Via the passage of a law. We have a policy here that currently, right now as we speak, is against federal law. And how that policy got put in is when Governor Chafee took over, he was all in favor of illegal aliens. I tried to meet with him. I just wanted to have a man-to-man talk. That's what I asked for. 10 minutes, just so he could hear my side of the story. No adversarial position, no raising my voice or anything like that. Just let him hear my side of the story. He refused 15 different requests. He refused. But he met with every illegal alien advocate group in the state of Rhode Island. Juan Garcia from Immigrants United, you know, that he met with all of them. And if you read the paper today, this new process, he's met with all the illegal alien advocates about this new issue. So, you know, what does that tell you? But what happened was, the governor, in the first year in office, he replaced 11 out of 13 members of the Rhode Island Board of Higher Education. He replaced with his picks. And then RIILE, and thank you for the members of RIILE that are here, we've testified so many times, it's incredible here about in-state tuition and driver's licenses and all of that. But E-Verify, I just lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. We testify so many times up here, we've prevented. That's the thing that RIILE has to hang its hat on. I know most of the people, even here in the audience, would like to come to a rally today and Monday see the law changed. But we can't get things done that quickly. But what I like to think is that in all the time we've been in existence, we've been RIILE for 8 years now. Every year when we come to this State House, there are on average 12 bills that are to benefit illegal aliens introduced by our legislators. You heard me right, to benefit illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And in 8 years, not one of those bills has passed. So, and I attribute that to RIILE and people that support RIILE. And we're trying to do that again. But just let me finish up on that education thing. A state representative, Grace Diaz, and a state senator, Juan Pachado, and an immigration attorney, Roberto Gonzalez, got together and they went to Eva Mancuso, who was the government affairs representative on the Rhode Island Board of Higher Education, and they pleaded their case to her. She in turn pleaded that case to the entire Board of Higher Education. 11 new members appointed by Chafee right after he got elected. And mysteriously, folks, the policy got put in. Not voted in, the policy got put in. And that's where we're up against right now. And it's a scary thought that all of those people are in favor of in-state tuition, driver's licenses for illegal aliens. 2 candidates for Secretary of State are in favor of driver's licenses for illegal aliens. and want to see voter ID get repealed. One candidate for lieutenant governor is against, well, he isn't now, he changed his mind. I wonder why he changed his mind, but he came out and made the statement that he was against E-Verify because it penalized people with brown skin. And I was told that to my face by Senator Teresa Piva-Weed also, that the reason she was against E-Verify because it penalized people with brown skin. And I was told by another illustrious senator in the state of Rhode Island that I'll tell you how he said it. It's like meeting with a mafia boss. The reason I'm against that E-Verify stuff is because it prevents people from getting jobs.
No kidding.
I said, Senator, I beg to differ with you. In order for E-Verify to be put in, the person has to have a job already. It's after the fact that E-Verify goes in, not before the person is hired. The person is hired, they're put to work, the company sends the information, the I-9 information, off to Homeland Security and Social Security. If it matches and everything's okay, it's fine. If it doesn't, they get back a non-conforming notice. They notify the employee all the time he's still working. They notify the employee that it come back non-conforming. The employee has 8 days to get a hold of Social Security and tell them that he disagrees with that determination. From that day on, he maintains his job until such time as Social Security and Homeland Security make a final determination whether or not that person was allowed to work. So, senators, I mean, when they're voting on these things, I have to tell you, they don't know what they're doing. They don't. Somebody tells them something and they vote on it, and say, and they'll tell them, don't forget next week my bill's coming up. I'm voting for yours today. I'll vote for that bill next week that you're putting. And you know, I could tell you stories like that for the rest of the day. But getting back to this illegal immigration, what are we going to do if all of a sudden, mysteriously, 400 folks show up here that are illegal aliens, that somehow they have to be immunized, somehow they have to be put in schools? There was a woman on one of the big shows the other day that from Lowell, Massachusetts. She's a superintendent of schools in Lowell, Massachusetts. In the last 5 years, she's had a thousand pupil increase in her school population. All of that 1,000-person increase is attributable to one village in Guatemala. The children are from 8 to 16 years old. The majority, well, none of them speak English. The majority of them, this is this woman's words, not Terry Gorman, the majority of them not only don't speak English, they don't speak Spanish either. They speak a dialect from a village that they come from in Guatemala. Most of them are totally illiterate. And they're in the schools in Lowell, Massachusetts, killing the Lowell, Massachusetts school system. And the law says we have to educate those children. And let me tell you how insidious it is with in-state tuition. We're functioning right now, in-state tuition is a policy, but we're treating it like it's a law. They're not entitled to that. We're required to provide an education for any child living on U.S. soil, K through 12. What's the most popular? I wish the press was still here. What's the most popular thing you see nowadays that's going to straighten out all our education system?
Pre-K.
Early childhood learning programs. Early childhood learning programs. We have, right now, today, in the state of Rhode Island, according to Kids Count, we have 5,400 non-English speaking students under the age of 5 in the state of Rhode Island. And we're striving to get all of them early childhood learning programs. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? When we look at some of the daycare centers, we all know the abuses with the daycare centers. Deborah Gist would like to see those people have some sort of a certification to be like substitute teachers or something that are working in a daycare center. We unionize the daycare workers now in Rhode Island. Why is that? Look at the majority of where those daycare workers come from in the state of Rhode Island. The majority of the children that they're taking care of. You know, it's just a tremendous burden. And I'm so happy that as many folks showed up today. I would have been happier with a lot more, of course, but it's something that has to be said. I was so glad all the stations were here. But we'll see how they put it on the news tonight, you know, or at noontime. But let me just tell you another thing. This about how the news works. There was a thing in Lincoln, Rhode Island, the other day. A lady called a talk show and said that she saw buses at the senior center in Lincoln dropping off pregnant women and children and young men. Well, I heard that. Now, I can't imagine. I live in Lincoln. This can't be happening here. I was in my garden. I ran from my garden, got my keys, and I drove to the Lincoln Housing Authority. You would not believe the people that were at that place. You would not believe it. And I called John DePietro and I said, "You got to get somebody out here. Somebody has to see this. I don't know where these people are from or anything, but you got to see it. There's so many people. It looked like they were going to a Patriots game. You know how they walk up Route 1? That's how they were walking on Front Street like that. It was absolutely incredible. Well, Gene Valicenti came out there, and of course, you know, he disagrees. He doesn't agree with what I have to say for the most part, but he went in and talked to the people at the center.
Oh yeah, they were signing up.
And this is 10:30 in the morning. His report was on the radio. 10:30 in the morning, he told John DePietro that the woman told him that from opening till then, there had been 500 to 600 people pick up applications for Section 8 housing. So it wasn't illegal aliens from the border or anything, and it was for Section 8 housing, so it really wasn't to do with a lot of immigration problem. But that was at 10:30 in the morning. I left there at 11:30 in the morning. The lines were still out the door and down Franklin Street. So I mean, we're dealing with that. All of those people probably have kids in school. They're probably already, you know, they're legally here, or they have a green card, or they have something, and they're looking for Section 8 housing. But my point of that story is, I went there the next day, and I spoke to the same person that Gene Valicenti spoke to, and I said, "Boy, you had a busy day yesterday, huh?" She said, "Yeah, we did, Terry." I said, "How many people did you end up with, 1,000? Oh, she said, "Forget about 1,000, Terry. It's a lot more than 1,000. So there's over 1,000 people picked up applications for Section 8 housing in Lincoln. But the paper, the Providence Journal, wrote that up. The next day, 500 people show up to pick up applications. Not 1,100, 500 people show up to pick up applications. And that happens every single day with all of the things that you and I are striving to correct, and all of the things that we say and we can prove, and they just make it look like it's not really very important. Like what we're doing here today isn't important. But we have to see, you know, I don't want to accuse them of something before they put it out, but we'll see how the articles come out, because, you know, Steve Clampion was here. He'll be on the radio with what we have to say today. Jim Barron was here from the Times. Channel 10 was here, Channel 12 was here, Channel 6 was here. So at least we can take faith in that we got that much attention with the little crowd that we have here, but we got that much attention. So maybe they're starting to believe that it's important. And it's a coincidence that they announce on the radio. Maybe that's why there aren't so many people here. They're afraid. There's a rally downtown Providence with Juan Garcia and Immigrants United to demand driver's licenses for illegal aliens and demand that no more deportations happen in Rhode Island. And you can see by the news that we already did that at the ACI. There'll be no more deportations thanks to Governor Chafee's new law that regulates what we do with illegal aliens at the ACI. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming today. And of course, we'd all like to have seen a lot more people here. But I want to ask a show of hands. If we have another rally next Saturday, because there's another big giant rally in Boston next Saturday about this same issue, how many of you folks think you'd be able to come? And it's on a it would be on a Saturday, so everybody would be able to bring their families and all that. So we could fill this whole place up. Fill up this whole plaza here. Here, right here. Not the one in Boston, but it would be in conjunction with the one in Boston. All right. Well, I'll get it together and send it all out. You'll get plenty of notification this time, and it'll be much better planned. You know, like I said, this was a spur of the moment thing. We didn't have much time to prepare, and I don't feel as though I'm as prepared as I should be either today. But it's been kind of stressful getting all of this stuff together. But I'd like to thank the young man that came here right here. I'd like to thank Mike for coming from as far away as he did. And go on Facebook, and if you can support that Overpass for America,
Overpass
support
for America, New England on Facebook.
Can I ask
And
did Chafee come up here before when they had the
no, they had that downtown.
Did he go to it?
Well, he came back shortly after it was done, so maybe he did go to it. I don't know. But, yes. Yeah. Jen brings up a good point. We have a surplus of military barracks in Panama. Why couldn't they go there? But I don't know where the money's going to come from. We're $17 trillion in debt. In Rhode Island, they claim next year there's going to be a $400+ million deficit in the next budget. And I could tell them, I could show them right where to find $400 million of that. And just forget about that would be one place, foreign aid. But if they just reined in, these are the two things they have to do, is put in E-Verify, which would require people to be U.S. citizens in order to hold jobs, or legal immigrants. Put in E-Verify, which is a national policy right now. Obama has E-Verify as a national policy for any contractor that wants to contract with the government. And the second thing would be to provide only emergency medical care to illegal aliens, to anybody that doesn't have a Social Security number or a green card. We are so lenient in the state of Rhode Island. It's still the law. It's still the law that when somebody becomes a citizen, is inducted as a citizen, new citizens, for 5 years they can't access any social services in Rhode Island. For 5 years. Rhode Island waived that requirement. We waived that requirement. You probably heard some of this story before, but I think this is critical. And imagine this related to the people that potentially could be coming here. An illegal alien woman. In 2011, we had 350 illegal alien women having babies in the state of Rhode Island. 350. Each one of those deliveries cost approximately $20,000. Those illegal alien women are entitled to prenatal care, childbirth, postpartum care, and a lot of you ladies won't believe this, long-term family planning. We're giving illegal alien women long-term family planning. Now, just imagine this. Those children, by law, by federal law, any child born on U.S. soil is a U.S. citizen. You're right, called anchor babies. So just to remember now, I said 2011, 350 of those children were born. That's $7 million that cost just for the childbirth. Not for prenatal care, postpartum care, and long-term family planning. Now imagine this, and any of you that have children would understand this. The average cost to raise a child to an American family from birth till 18 years old is $241,000. So if you divide $241,000 by 18, that comes out to $13,800 some a year for one of those children. Multiply that times 350, it's $4.8 million. So those babies that were born in 2011, in 2012, cost the state of Rhode Island $13 million. Just for the babies that were born in 2011. Now what about all the babies that were born before 2011? And what about all the babies that were born after 2011? Where is the money going to come from that? And this threat that we're under right now is even more of these illegal alien women, some of them already pregnant. You see them on the news, come to Rhode Island. What happens? Right away, they're in the system. We voluntarily put them in the system. In 2011, there was 350. There could have been 3,500, and we wouldn't have said anything. Our government wouldn't have told us. They wouldn't have said anything. I had to get that information through a Freedom of Information Act to the Rhode Island Department of Health and Human Services. That's who gave me that information about 350. And I could go on and on and on. We have illegal aliens that are living here accessing services using what we call the 666 number. You ever hear of the 666 number? The 666 number is a number that they use for illegal aliens in lieu of a Social Security number, until such time as they get an actual Social Security number. So they get into all the system. How many people do you think in 2011, when all those babies were born, were accessing social services via the 666 number? 4,300. 4,300 people were accessing social services using the 666 number in lieu of a Social Security number. So that's why we're here today, folks, and I think that's why you're here, to hear more about it. And that's encouraging that almost everyone here raised their hand. So I'm going to start working on that today, about putting something together for next Saturday. And what time do you folks think would be the most convenient time? To the noon time, 11 in the morning, or how many for noon time?
When you can get here.
Oh, I'll get here whenever you guys want to come. Noon time. All right. Then if you could just put that time aside, we'll just have another short meeting. Maybe something like Karen said, where are the politicians today? You know, we had 3 people that are running for office. Where's Speaker of the House Medeiros? I sent him information about all of this stuff. I asked him what he intended to do about this stuff. Senator Teresa Piper-Reed, President of the Senate, sent the same thing to her. Nothing. Sent it to the governor, got an acknowledgement from the governor. Listen to this. This is our government. Our government. I get a generic email back from the governor. It says, thanks for contacting the governor. As you know, the governor gets several hundred emails every day, and he can't address all of those emails, so his staff goes through all of the emails, and on Tuesdays, so the following week, they have email for the governor day, and they have a big meeting, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not satisfied with that. I want to know more about it, so I called. I talked to a guy named Sam, and this is what he told me. I said, I have a question about an email that I sent to the governor. And he said, what's it about? I said, it's about immigration. Oh, he said, that's not our department. Call your congressman. We don't deal with immigration. So, needless to say, he and I were on the phone for quite some time discussing call your congressman. Not that how much good it would do to call the congressman. But he finally agreed that they would look for my email and put it at the top of the list. So you probably know what that means. You know, there isn't a file 13 deep enough to put that email in. But yeah, but that's how we're being treated. And we're the citizens. We're the citizens. They're supposed to be looking out for us. It makes no sense that we're allowing it to happen to us. But again, I thank everybody very much for coming. I'll put something together. You'll probably hear something tomorrow about when it's going to be. Now, you know, now I shouldn't say this, but now people tell me, it was on the radio, so I don't feel bad about saying it. People are calling the governor's office now, and someone with a Hispanic accent answers the phone. Now, what's that person going to do if you call and tell them I'm calling complaining about immigrants, or I'm calling to complain about illegal aliens, and the person barely speaks English that's on the phone. It's just, my voicemail's going with my email in that big circular file that she just told me. But anyway, thanks again for coming, and thank you, Mike, for coming. This is a lot of credit to come from as far away as he came, and I have to give credit also. That's too bad the press isn't here to the organization that he's affiliated with also is Alapac, and they're the ones that put out on Facebook about this meeting. That's why he's here. That's how he knew to come from Leicester, Massachusetts. He said there was supposed to be more people come, but somehow or other they weren't able to make it. But the organizations like that, there are 300 of these rallies today across the country. 300. So it means something. And people are starting to pay attention. And I thought, we have to. If you listen to the talk shows, if you know any teachers, or if there's any teachers in the audience, tell the union leaders to check in on this, because the union leaders aren't paying any attention. In my opinion, the union leaders, all of the union leaders, are only interested in dues. And the more dues, the higher pay the union leader gets. But what do they think about September? If in fact this comes to fruition, if there are children going into the schools that we don't really know anything about, we're not sure if they had the proper immunizations and all that stuff. Teachers have been calling this talk show for a week, saying they're petrified about going back to school because they don't know what they're going to encounter. Not just that there could be kids in the classes that are sick, but also all the extra burden that's going to put on the schools because these kids don't speak English. You know, just so you don't think it's that far away, last year, on the first day of school in Providence, Rhode Island, 440 students showed up unannounced. 440 students they didn't know were coming showed up in the Providence school system. How do you deal with that? You know, you won't believe this. We have teachers in the Providence school system that don't speak English. Teachers that don't speak English. This is like 3 years ago. This is all documented. A lady called the talk show that I got in touch with her after that. But her son was acting up in school, so she got a notice that she had to come in and see the counselor and the teacher. So she went to the school with her son, walked into this office. A woman came in, the counselor doesn't speak English. They had to get an interpreter for the counselor to talk to this American woman and her American son about misbehaving in school. Now, give me a break. I mean, how bad can it get? How bad? And unless the only thing they listen to is people here. More people, more people, more. That's the only thing they listen to. So we have to continue to be vigilant. We'll keep you informed as the best we can. And please come next week and bring 3 people with you. And hopefully, if people have a week's notice, we'll be able to generate a much bigger crowd, because that's what's necessary. So thank you for coming, everyone, and God bless you. It's a big project, but we'll keep the fight going. Thank you again.